Hello, fellow diamond painting addicts, and welcome back to Diamond Painting Anonymous. I'm Daphne, and I'm here for this week's WIP and Chat. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. WIP, WIP, stands for Work in Progress, and this is mine. You are welcome and encouraged to go grab whatever you are working on and work alongside while I chat. Or alternatively, you can treat this as a podcast and just listen while I chat. Today I am going to be working on my current WIP, which is my Bella Art Diamonds kit called Pet Shop. I'll throw a picture of it up over there. Let me zoom in to where I'm going to be working and I will be right back. Don't go anywhere. All right, let me start my timer here. Poured out some drills. I am currently working on the bottom of this one because this is the one, if you guys remember when I opened it, that there's all this color blocking at the bottom and it's a light color, which is never my favorite thing. The drills are actually pretty good, and though I do have a little bit of gapping, it's not terrible. I'm still trying to decide whether I want to bother doing like some mica powder or something over it when I get finished with it. But we'll see how the rest of it looks, if I need to do anything kind of internally as well on the portion of the painting that isn't background, is what I mean by internal. So all of that out of the way, let's jump into my life update. What's going on in my life? Well, not a ton. Again, still kind of same old, other than it's a little bit weird because school is back in session. Youngest is done, so he is just kind of biding time until we sell the house and move, because there's not a whole lot of point in him finding a job here and then in 2 months we're like, hey, we're leaving, bye-bye. So we're just kind of hanging out in limbo land. But everybody else is back at work and school. My oldest went back to work because school is back in session. We were talking about it because I wanted to know how it was going, how many kids they had this year, did everybody come back. They have a really hard time keeping paras. So she was excited that everybody came back because she really likes a lot of the people that she works with, and they got some new people. So there's a couple of new faces. And then she was telling me, because I asked, the first day of school was just the youngest kids to kind of give them time to acclimate to the building and everything before all of the older kids show up. They had 5 new kids and then all the kids that are going to be returning, which she told me they had 19 kids, and I was like, wow, that sounds like a lot. And she said it's not that many, but they did actually hire a new special ed teacher. So they now have 2 special ed teachers instead of 1, which will hopefully lighten the load for the 1 teacher that was there. And now they have, instead of 2 classrooms, they have 3. So each of the teachers have a classroom, and then they have a shared room that they use for certain activities. I don't know what, and they have 9 paras, which she said that's the most they've ever had before. So hopefully that means that it will be a little bit less of a workload this year than it has been in previous years. I was asking her that first day, I had texted her to see if she'd survive. She's been complaining about being tired. And then she said, well, a bunch of the people at work were also complaining about being tired. I'm like, you guys have been off all summer. Of course you're tired. You've been sitting at home in the air conditioning, in my daughter's case, playing video games. And she did work through June, so she actually worked more than some of her colleagues. So they were complaining about that. But then she said, Mom, do you want me to call you or text you the tea? And I was like, what? First of all, the fact that she was offering to call. My daughter hates phone calls. She 99% of the time would rather text. So I was surprised about that. But she offered to call, and I said, okay, call me. I thought it was something that had gone on at work. And she's like, no, 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 this is about her apartment complex. She said she noticed, sometime last week, the lady that lives in an apartment next to her was moving out. She's like, it was really late at night and the reason she noticed was because they were driving their trucks up on the grass to park their trucks right next to this neighbor's door so that they didn't have to carry her belongings across the parking lot, which I get. But my daughter's like, well, they were shining their headlights right into my living room, so that's why she noticed. Anyway, So she had noticed, didn't think much of it. And she said then a couple days later, she gets a phone call from the landlord asking her, "Do you know if this lady's moved out? Did you see anything? Blah, blah, blah." And she's like, "Well, yeah, they were here a couple of nights ago and they were, here at night loading stuff up, driving the trucks up to the door so they could load things." And the landlord's like, "Well, great." Apparently, the lady did not tell the landlord that she was moving out. So I don't know. I'm assuming she probably left owing rent or whatever. And I said, "Well, I'm pretty sure if that's the case, she can kiss her deposit goodbye." But I guess he was alerted by a third tenant because that tenant had loaned the lady a television. And he was upset because she apparently packed the television and took it with her. So he's annoyed because he's now down a TV. The landlord was annoyed because he's now down a tenant and probably out some money. I mean, they get to keep your deposit, but I don't know how much that, I mean, people who leave in the middle of the night and leave you with a rent bill hanging probably haven't taken really good care of the apartment while they were in it. So he may have some damages and things to repair before he can rent the apartment out again. So he was not a happy camper, but my daughter said, "Well, Mom, I don't know about them, but I'm kind of glad she moved out." And I said, "Why?" And she's like, "The first time that my daughter met her, the lady wanted my daughter to give her a ride to Walmart." And my daughter's like, "Lady, I'm sorry, but I don't know you. I'm not just going to get in the car with you. We've never," literally, the lady had just moved in. She's like, "Sorry." Then the lady never talked to her again, except to tell her that the reason that she didn't have a car and couldn't take herself to Walmart was because she was in witness protection. And I was like, I'm pretty sure if you're actually in witness protection, the first rule is you're not supposed to tell people you're in witness protection. So she seemed a little bit special. So I can't say I was sad that she moved out either, but I thought it was funny that my daughter was like, "Do you want me to call?" And I was like, "If you want to call, sure." I would much rather have a phone call than a text message. And I'm keep telling my husband I'm ready to move away from my smartphone and go back to just an old flip phone that all I can do with it is make phone calls, receive phone calls and texts, because I'm so tired of all the crap that comes along with owning a smartphone these days. Everybody trying to track your data everywhere all day long. Then my husband was telling me about the huge security breach news, which, if you haven't heard, apparently this happened back in April, and they're just now telling everybody that some company had some kind of huge data breach with over 3 billion records, and it involves Canada, the US, and the UK. And I'm like, okay, if you add all those countries together, we don't have 3 billion people, so what's going on there? Apparently, it has something to do with the lines of data. So, like, one person can have multiple lines if you have like multiple addresses or something like that. And I told my husband, I wonder if that's why we had that issue a couple of months ago with somebody trying to open a credit card in his name. And we ended up going out and freezing all of his credit and all of that. And I'm like, well, what are we supposed to do? Because supposedly it leaked social security numbers, if you're in Canada, social insurance numbers, and whatever the equivalent of that is in the UK. And they're like, well, what you can do is go out and get your free credit score and then also freeze your credit. And I'm like, so this is my thing about security and data, because nothing is unhackable. If you have enough money, time, and resources to throw at something, eventually you can hack it. Nothing computerized is unhackable. It's just a matter of making sure that you're not a big target. And I told my husband, my thing of it is we have to give our information to so many people these days, and all it takes is one employee who does something wrong and something like this happens. And I mean, let's face it, people are people. Somebody's going to make a mistake. Somebody's going to open the wrong email. Even when you're trying to do things right, there's going to be mistakes. I told my husband, our medical healthcare system locally, they want you to do everything online. Fill out your paperwork online. Log in and confirm your appointments online. Do all this stuff online. And I'm like, I don't like that. I already don't like that people have access to my health information that I don't really trust because I don't even know them. And all it takes is some random receptionist opening the wrong email, and suddenly everybody's data is compromised. So I don't like doing stuff online. And in fact, every time I get an email, sign up for our patient portal. Nope, delete. I refuse to do it. I told my husband when we moved to Canada, I want a landline with an answering machine so that I can just refer everyone to there. And then my cell phone is reserved for people that I actually want to talk to. I was annoyed about the whole credit thing again today because something, I think it was, I was watching YouTube and an ad came up on YouTube. Oh, if you have great credit, it can lower your insurance premiums. What does my credit score have to do with my driving record? Absolutely nothing. So, why are those two things allowed to be linked together? Like, that's an annoyance for me. I think that insurance regulators should be limited in information to you don't get my credit score. If I'm contacting you for car insurance, you get my driving record. That's what's relevant, nothing else. If I'm contracting with you for house insurance, you can have records of other homes that I may have owned and whether or not I've had claims. That's it. You don't get my credit score. And then I was reading about how even retail stores are now getting into it. Of course, biggies like Amazon and places like that, Facebook, online people use information cookies to try and track you everywhere. But now retail stores are getting in on it. And apparently, if you have Bluetooth or Wi Fi enabled on your phone, which a lot of us do because earbuds, AirPods take Bluetooth, Wi Fi when I'm at my house rather than using my phone data. If I'm looking up something, I just use my home Wi Fi because it's cheaper. I'm already paying for the home Wi Fi. It's just one set amount a month. It doesn't matter how much data I use. Whereas on my phone, I only get so much per month. Technically, my phone says I get unlimited, but they throttle you. So in my mind, that's not really unlimited. So now stores, retail stores, are using Bluetooth and location data, GPS tracking, and Wi-Fi to see what sites are you visiting. They can get stuff off of your phone. Where have you been? They use the location data to see even where you walk within the store so that they can track traffic patterns or certain items that might be trending, things like that. And I just thought, while I appreciate that people are just trying to make a buck, why do they have to know every single thing about you in order to do that? They don't, but it's easy to do that these days. That's why I was telling my husband I want to go back to just my little flip phone that all it does is take phone calls and receive texts. Because then I don't have emails on there, I don't have apps on there, I don't have like banking apps and stuff like that on my phone anyway. But I haven't yet reached the point where I want to travel completely without a cell phone because I think it is useful in emergencies, like if you break down on the highway or something, or if you get stranded somewhere, then having a cell phone is useful because we don't have payphones anymore, at least in the US. Like, I can't remember the last time I saw an actual working payphone. So if you don't have something like that, you're kind of stuck unless you can get a stranger to kindly lend you their cell phone. So I don't want to be completely without it, also because I have kids and I want my kids to be able to reach me if there's an emergency. But the rest of the world doesn't need my phone number. Doesn't need to know where I shop, what I buy, all that kind of stuff. In fact, I lately have started shopping in person again rather than using the apps. It is more convenient for us to use the apps just because I'm married to someone who spends his life looking for new things to try. So if we shop via the app, it's always cheaper because I'm not having him constantly shove things in the cart that he'd like to quote unquote try. But everybody wants you to use their shopper's card to get good deals and everything. So they're tracking what I'm purchasing as well. But for everybody else, like I can't remember the last time we bought something off of Amazon. We've very heavily cut down what we buy in that respect. I just, it's that whole argument for privacy. Well, if you're not doing anything wrong, what does it need to be a secret? Well, my argument is I'm not doing anything wrong, but why do you need to know everything? Like, why do you need to be so nosy? It's because they want to know everything about you so they can better use psychology to target you into spending your money. I'm kind of over it. I think it's the same thing for me as the FOMO that you get when you first start diamond painting. Like, I've got to buy all these kits. They're only available this week. If it sells out and they never restock it, I'll miss it. Will I, though? I think I mentioned last week that somebody had commented before that your tastes change. For instance, when I was younger, I used to hate sour cream, couldn't stand it, hated the way it tastes, never wanted it, wouldn't eat anything with it on there. After my first pregnancy, when I had my daughter, suddenly I loved it. Couldn't get enough of it. And I still love it. So your tastes do change. And the commenter's point was that your taste in art changes too. So maybe you bought something in the midst of FOMO or whatever, or maybe even at the time you really truly liked the kit. And then in the course of hanging on to it for a couple of years before you could get to it, your tastes have changed and it's just not something that you like anymore. So it's okay to get rid of it in that case. Now, for me, I have guilt about that whole sunk cost fallacy. Well, I've already spent the money, so I should just do it. Because I've spent the money, so I should get the enjoyment out of diamond painting it. But then the question becomes, am I really getting the enjoyment out of it? Because my tastes have changed and now I'm forcing myself to do this kit that I maybe don't like that much anymore just because I already spent the money on it. My husband and I have, over the last, well, probably at least 5 years, maybe more, as we've tried to work our way to debt free, kind of rein in our spending and all of that, pay off all of our debt. We just had to ask ourselves a lot of questions about, personally for us, what is enough? How much do we need? Are we spending without thinking? And actually, for us, Amazon was a big one because it was so easy just to go out and, I mean, my husband would just go out and browse Amazon and stick stuff in the cart. And then when I would say, well, I'm going to make an order, okay, we'll order all these things. Did we need them? Absolutely not. When we got really serious about, okay, we're putting a timeline down for ourselves in our move to Canada to get the house on the market, all that kind of stuff, I'm like, okay, we have to cut back on our Amazon shopping. It ends up just being junk. And my husband is a big kitchen gadget guy. And so he would buy a bunch of kitchen gadgets that just sat around and did nothing but take up space. And so I finally said, we just have to cut this down. And rather than cutting down, what we actually found ourselves doing was pretty much cutting it out, which is insane because here we are spending all this money every month on this stuff that we've got to have. And then when you look at it, you realize, how much money were we wasting that we could have been putting towards paying down the house or paying down the car or putting in savings and had it to do other things with? I really kind of kick myself now that I didn't start doing it before. We were actually having a conversation the other day because I was talking about how I'm scrambling a little bit sometimes with the channel because I've not been buying things like I used to. Sometimes purposefully not purchasing, and sometimes just because when I go out and look, nothing really screams at me, purchase this. And I have gotten myself in the habit of, when I'm doing that, I'm bored and I'm just, instead of scrolling, I'm doom shopping, and I don't really need the things I'm looking for. I'm bored, and that means I need to go do something else. And it has worked for the most part, which has been good, especially while hubby's not working and we don't really have any income coming in. But I was talking to my husband and I said, I haven't really bought anything diamond painting related. I haven't bought any new kits recently. I haven't bought any new supplies for a variety of reasons. Some because we're going to be moving soon and I don't want to spend the money, and some because I don't want to buy something just to buy it. And if I buy it, then I have to find some place to put it. So I've just been avoiding the situation by not buying anything. To which he said, just go out and buy something. We have some extra money. It's not going to hurt anything if I do. And if you need something, and I'm like, no, I need to just do something else to get me out of my creative block. I think that's what it is. I've just been scrambling for a couple of weeks, and now I'm like, you put that pressure on yourself, and that just makes your writer's block or creative block or whatever it is even worse. I was watching a YouTuber that I follow. She's not a diamond painter, but she is like a crafting business, sticker business type channel. But she's constantly expanding. And I've been watching her for years, since she was just in a little one room studio and it was her and her sister. And now, gosh, I think she's moved studios like 5 or 6 times. Her husband works there. She has a second employee that works there. And it's basically become her and her husband's full-time job. Whereas before, he worked a different job. She had a part-time job and then did her business on the side. So it's been interesting to watch her journey. But they do a lot of traveling. They just took a trip to Japan, and she's like, I got so many ideas. And she was talking about how they'd just taken a weekend trip out in their little camper. She was so inspired by some of the scenery and things. And I thought maybe that's what we've been missing. We've been kind of holed up in the house, just kind of waiting in limbo. Maybe what we need is to kind of get out and do some things. I don't know what we're going to do because I'd want it to be something that doesn't really cost a ton of money. But I mean, we literally could just drive around and look at some scenery, and I would probably, it's that whole your brain comes up with ideas while you're busy doing something else. Like I will literally tell myself, send that to the back of my brain, let my subconscious stew on whatever the problem issue, whatever is, and then I'm going to go do something else and focus on that. And then when I come back, maybe I'll have an idea. And it usually works. I also think part of it is we didn't walk this week. It rained a lot this week, and so I didn't get my usual exercise in. Exercise is good for getting my brain moving as well, and we didn't do that this week, which we really need the rain, so I'm not sad about that, but we really need the rain. The large town that is close to us has started water restrictions, people about how much people can water their lawn because the water reservoir is so low. They haven't done that here where we live yet, but I think it's coming if we don't get some decent rain soon. We did have a couple of pretty good rainstorms, thunderstorms blow through here. We didn't get anything super heavy or anything like that. It was pretty windy, one of them, but nothing, no big storm damage or anything like that. But my husband was looking at storm calls and things, and Kansas City and the big town close to us had quite a few power outages. There were a couple of towns at various places, not necessarily near us, but just other places in the same state that also had some significant kind of power damage. It's kind of funny how that all works too. We were watching the CBC News. Hubby watches it every once in a while just to kind of see what's going on up there. And I guess Montreal had a big water main break. It basically flooded a huge section of the city. And because everything was flooding, they had to turn the electricity off because they were afraid that it would cause damage to the power grid. So they preemptively cut off electricity to a bunch of places. But I mean, some of the pictures, that water main, it must have been huge. It looked like Old Faithful in the middle of the street. It was gushing so much water. And then hubby and I got into a discussion of like, who pays for this? Like, you have to pay for your water usage, right, when you live in a city, unless you have a well, which typically in a city you don't. I mean, we live in a city and we could have a well, but we live in a very small city. Like, if we lived in the large city close to us, we would have city water. So who pays for all of that? Do they just like shut off that day and realize no one's paying for the water that day? Does the city have to pay for it? Questions I've never pondered before. Like the big city near us gets their water from a reservoir in another city. So do they pay that city where the reservoir is located for that water? And is that city like, is it just free water? Because it's basically just a big lake. And how do things get decided? Like if the lake gets super, super low, can the city where the reservoir is say, well, you can't have any more of our water anymore? I would presume there's some sort of contract in place to prevent that from happening, but in a drought? Interesting. Inquiring minds. I should look some of that up and see how that works. This is why I told my husband when we retire someplace, I want to be as self-sufficient as possible. I want our own well, which has its own problems because wells, underwater groundwater is like a pool, right? It's not any different than having a reservoir. It's underground instead of above ground, which makes it harder to determine who gets what from it, right? But our own water system, a septic system rather than being hooked up to a city sewer system, a solar system so that we have our own power and don't have to be connected to a grid, so that we can just be as self-sufficient as possible. So that if there's a storm or something, then hopefully we're either unaffected or it's on us to fix it. The scary part of that is it's on if there's something like a tornado would blow through or something, then yes, it's upon you to fix it. But also, hopefully, you would have insurance that would help cover some of that stuff so that it wouldn't be quite as expensive to replace everything. That's the hope anyway. I don't know if that's how it will work out. We'll have to see. We're still debating the whole buying versus renting dilemma and which one we want to do. Hubby found a really nice cottage that is in the town where his brother has a cottage, but it's a Four Seasons cottage. The people who own it live in their regular house during the winter, though, and they rent out the cottage. So it's a month by month, but basically everything is furnished that you would need, and the price they're wanting for rent includes everything, includes all the utilities, cable, internet. Basically, it would just be us transportation, our car, groceries, and entertainment, which that's outside entertainment. If I had Wi-Fi and I could just download books on my Kindle, I'd be entertained. So all inclusive and includes all the furniture and everything. So we wouldn't have to buy furniture to furnish the place. But then we were talking about, we don't know like what the renting situation is going to be because he's not been working. Is that going to affect our ability to rent? I mean, right now, assuming the house sells fairly quickly, we have enough in savings that we would just be like, okay, we're going to rent X number of months. Here's the rent, which in theory would hopefully mean that whoever it is wouldn't need to run a credit report or credit check or whatever. All right, guys, somebody just started mowing their lawn. So I'm going to pause here and I'll be back when they're finished making noise. See you in a bit. I think they're done mowing the lawn. My neighbors usually have somebody with an electric lawnmower mow their lawn, so I don't know why they have this noisy guy today, but I started to come back and talk to you guys, and then they got out the weed whacker, so hopefully they're now done. So I think that was everything I wanted to tell you guys about my life update. So moving on to my diamond painting update. I've had so many questions from a bunch of you, so I thought I'd try to answer some of them within the context of this whip and chat. You can see how much I got done while I was waiting for them to quit making noise. So one of the questions I had was using the washi tape on my bottles here and putting the stickers on top. And somebody asked about curling stickers and did I have problems with that? Yes, I absolutely do. You can see this one. This is lifted up. Generally, what has happened is stickers have been rolled up in the kit, and so the stickers have been curled for a while. You can try and make them lay flat before you put them on your bottles or whatever. For people who unbox their kits as soon as they get them, maybe that's an option. I don't do that with mine, so my stickers may have been laying curled up for literally years before I get to them. Sometimes I worry about trying to get them to lay flat. Sometimes I just deal with it and I'll just occasionally run my hands over all of the stickers and push them back down so that they are where they're supposed to be while I'm diamond painting. So that was one question. And then I had a question. I get lots of questions about how I make my release papers. So if you haven't seen the video of my experimentation with that, I'll stick a link to it up in the corner so you can go check that out. But basically what I do is I buy sticker paper, 8.5 by 11 sticker paper that I use with my cutting machine to make various stickers, die cut stickers, kiss cut stickers, all different kinds of things. I have also used my cutting machine to make my storage, my spiritual storage system, which I'll also throw a link up there if you want to check that out. So a variety of things like my stickers here that go on my baggies have the DMC. This is an AB, so it's got the AB designation. I've got them for all the DMC codes. I use that to make my storage system, which needs a revamp now that I think about it, because now there's fairy dust and all these other specialty drills that I could be including. I need to have a think about that and decide how I want to change that up, or if I want to change it up. I had kind of had in the back of my mind that I was going to change how I was doing it once we moved, once I know where we're going to be and what my kind of storage space situation is going to be. If I'm going to have like one room that I have to dedicate to everything like I do here, or if I'm just going to have a closet. Days like today, I've told my husband I've been really tempted to move the studio where I film down to the basement, just because then I'm not right by the window where it seems like all the outdoor noise comes in. But having a closet where I could like hang up sound deadening stuff and it'd be easier to control the lighting would be awesome. I was actually sitting here thinking about this while I was diamond painting, because sometimes, especially for unboxings, trying to show the kit, like that's why I normally do the B-roll, so you can kind of see it without the glare of the cover sheet getting in the way. But even with soft boxes and non-directional lighting, non-direct lighting, I mean, I've watched tutorials on how to make your lighting better when you're trying to show something that is reflective. It's really hard sometimes to not get a glare on things, even without direct lighting, and to get it bright enough so that you can still see. That would be easier to control if I was in a small space. And then I was thinking, I wonder if they could make the cover sheet, the plastic cover sheet that comes on your diamond painting, could they make it with non-glare plastic? Because if they could, that would be awesome. And then I wouldn't have to worry about so much about lighting, because the lights wouldn't glare off of it. So if that's the thing, diamond painting producers, please start using it, because that would be great. Okay, anyway, I got a little bit off track there. Using my cover sheet. So I make cover sheets. You can see a little bit of them here. This is a design that my daughter made, little witch potion bottle. So I decided to use that with my little witchy pet shop themed painting here. And I've been building quite a collection. So I use my cutting machine, and all I do is I use sticker paper. And so for me, like I'll print sticker stuff on the front of the page, and then the back of the sheet is what I use to make my release papers. So after I've made my stickers, then I have, it's a full 8.5 by 11 sheet. Then I have the back part left because I've already used the front part of the stickers. So I just peel off all the sticky sticker paper, and then what I have left is a back side that I can print on, and then the front of it is non-stick, because obviously you don't want the sticker paper to stick to it. And that's what I use for my cover sheets. And you can buy sticker paper from anywhere. I mean, you can get it at Walmart, craft stores, Amazon, of course, whatever you want to do. And I use my inkjet printer to print mine, but whatever you have works. And I use my cutting software, the software that works with my cutting machine, to kind of design them and make them seamless and everything. But you can use any program that lets you do that. I mean, there's a million different ways that you could do it, but that's basically how I do it. And then once I have everything printed, I will go back and cut the edges off, because my printer will not print all the way to the edge of the paper. That results in ink bleeding over the side, and my inkjet printer will not do that. If you have like a toner printer or a different printer, then yours might, mine doesn't. So I always have a little bit of an edge that I have to cut off, but that's okay. And then I have one of my, it's was something I was using to keep diamond paintings in, like the small paint gym minis, but basically I just have all of my cover sheets here. Some my daughter made, some I made, some I purchased. You can find decorative cover sheets on Amazon if you don't have the ability to make them yourself. I just think it's fun. I have a good time making them, like making the cat ones that I made to go with the Kindred Spirits diamond painting, all that kind of stuff. And because you're not selling them, you can do whatever you want, because it's just for your own personal use. So I just go out usually and I will find like art pieces made by the same artist, and then I will use those. and turn them into some kind of a seamless pattern. Then I will print those out and use those to make my cover sheets for whatever diamond painting I happen to be working on. Now, some people might not want to do it that way because then it kind of limits what you can use it with unless you buy a lot from one particular artist. But I have a good time using them, and I don't mind building up kind of a stash of diamond painting release papers. Some of them are kind of generic. Like these potion bottles could be used for a lot of different things. I've made some that have my logo on them. I made some that had bubbles for bubble fairies, but those could be used for anything. I've made some like marbled ones. I've made some that are art specific. I've purchased some that have various different things on them. I made myself some Jetsons ones. I've got ones that say professional diamond painter. So, I mean, you can, sky's the limit. Whatever your imagination can build, you can do. So, diamond painting life. What's going on in my diamond painting life? Well, I finished the Kindred Spirits. If you saw yesterday's video, you know that. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. I absolutely love how that kit turned out. It was such an enjoyable process. Trashy drills aside, that part was not enjoyable, but the squares fit so nicely together. It felt so nice to kind of run my hands over it when I was done. There was very little gapping issues. There were gaps in a couple of places, but it was a dark painting, so it's just not as noticeable. Yeah, just overall, and I had fun adding in all the different ABs and fairy dust drills that I was adding in. Just had an absolute blast with that one. So huge thank you to all of you for voting for that one. I'm now kind of debating whether or not I want to do another poll. Like I actually had that particular kit on my want series list, so I had intended to do it this year. But I was putting it off because it was bigger, it was cats, which is not my favorite thing, and it was square, it was dark colors. I might have gotten to it this year, I might not have, I don't know. But I super enjoyed it. So yeah, huge thank you to all of you that voted. So now I'm toying with, do I go back and do another poll like that? Or do I go to like whatever number 2 was off of that 4 and do that one? I'm not sure. So right now, obviously you can see I'm working on this pet shop from Bella Art. I actually love how small this one is. This one is only 36 by 49, a little bit smaller. And after doing Jasper C and the huge J Wall and the Kindred Spirits, which were all kind of big ones, working on something this small just feels so good. Rows don't seem to take very long. All that kind of multiplacing I was dreading here at the bottom is now finished. Yes, I have some up the sides and some at the top, but as quickly as this went, this was the by far biggest section of it, so the rest of it should be a breeze. I'm really enjoying the few ABs and fairy dust that I'm adding. I've got one fairy dust that I'm adding and one AB that I'm adding. It does have 5 ABs on its own, so I think ABs are covered. And I just didn't have any other fairy dust in colors that I felt would look good with this kit, so. But it's small and it should be finished fairly quickly. After that, I think I'm going to move on to the Sunday Delight, the Spangler that I just recently unboxed. But I don't know what I'm going to do after that. It occurred to me the other day that I spend a lot of time kind of making goals and things, but I don't think I drill down even far enough. Like I drilled down further this year than I have in years past, and I'm still not sure that was far enough. Maybe I'll go through and look at events again, because like I ended up saying that I was doing Kindred Spirits for ABs in August because I added like, I don't know, 4 or 5 ABs and 6 or 7 fairy dust to that kit. So I said I was doing that event for that one. I mean, I'm just participating to put pretty pictures up there. I don't actually fill out forms and whatnot to participate and win prizes. But anyway, so maybe if there are some other events that I could line up to do, or maybe I'm just going to go pull some smaller kits out and do 3 or 4 smaller kits. Because obviously, since they're smaller, they're quicker to do. Or maybe I'll just pull out a big one and do a big one off my want series. I don't know. Doing this smaller one is feeling really good though. And Sunday Delight is not huge. It's only a 56 by 56, so it's not big like Kindred Spirits was. And it's a new goal. Since I finished my 5 oldest, I decided that I was going to work on my 5 Spanglers. I was going to pull them out because like 4 of my 5 oldest are Spanglers. So I was going to pull them out and then I'm just going to work them in as I want to. And of the 5, that's the one, it's on my want series. It was the cutest and I think it's the smallest of the ones that I have left. So I decided I was going to do that one. So it's kind of in the back of my mind that maybe after I finish that one, I should pull another one of the other ones out because they're bigger and older and do those. But we'll see. Maybe I'll just go through my stash and figure out which one feels like the next one I should do. I don't know, honestly. It was kind of fun to have the poll and let you guys pick. I mean, I obviously narrow down the choices, so it's not like I don't have some say over what gets picked, but I threw the Kindred Spirits in there because it was one that was on my want series, and I was like, I feel like I should do this one. And then when it was the pick, I was like, well, I'll just go ahead and do it. I'm not sure if I'm going to enjoy it. And it turned out to be one of my favorites so far this year. So we'll see if I do that again. I've also been toying with the idea of doing memberships again. I know a lot of people don't want to do memberships on YouTube, and that's fine. But I've been toying with it. I was debating whether or not I was going to start up a Patreon once we completed our move. But there's been Patreon has been in the news because Apple is changing the way that it works now with the Patreon app in the App Store. And basically now it costs a bunch more money, which is stupid. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to do it or not. If I do, it's not an obligation to anyone. My videos will still be available to watch, even if you're not a member. What I was toying with the idea of was basically offering early access for members to videos. The videos would be available for early access. Everybody else, like if you didn't pay for a membership, you'd still have access to them. Just the members would get them a little bit early. And then I was debating whether or not I wanted to do some lives for members. I am not a huge fan of lives just because it seems, especially in the diamond painting community, there's so many people that are like, well, this is so and so slot and this is so and so slot. I don't know what those are because I don't watch them. So that seemed like, do I want to get into that whole mess? I don't know. I'm still debating. So if you have any thoughts about that, let me know your 2 cents in the comments below. Like I said, I wouldn't try to make it so that people didn't have access to my regular videos. And I'm not absolutely sold on the idea of doing lives either, just because I'm awkward. This format lets me kind of think about things before I say them, which I am notoriously bad at in real life. Oh, you guys. So many things, so many decisions, and I'm just ready for this move to start and then be over so we can kind of get on with the rest of our lives. I feel like I was telling my husband, I feel like we're stuck in this limbo and I'm over it. But we can only do what we can do, and we're doing that. So, yeah, just it is what it is until everything kind of falls into place, and hopefully that will be soon. I'm really, in addition to liking this kit because it's so small, I'm actually really loving how this is coming together. Like I said, I was really afraid, especially because the background color is like this very pale peach, that I would not like how it looked and it would be super gappy. There's a few gaps, but not nearly as many as I had feared there would be. The drills are so nice and fitting together so nicely. I really haven't had that much trash even so far. It's just going super quick and it's going to be so cute when it's done. I can't wait. I've got some other kits, like I said, some smaller kits from Bella Art that I might pull out and work on as well. But let me know your comments. Would you guys prefer me to do another poll so that you guys can have some input on what comes after the Spangler? I mean, obviously, like I said, I'll have some input in that I will decide kind of what the kits are that go in the poll. I did genuinely try to put some in there that I wasn't necessarily looking forward to, like the cat one, and that ended up being good. So maybe I should look for some that are bigger and that I'm not sure I will enjoy, and then be like, I'm going to stick this one on the list and see. Also, if I did do a poll, do you guys want that kind of information? Like I think last time I just put up the pictures and said, here are the pictures which one do you want me to do? And then people voted. Maybe I need to, like, is it worth putting additional information on there about the size, whether or not it's round or square? No, you know what? I think I just want you guys to vote by the image. If you're curious, you can always go look it up if you wanna. All right, so I just got 2 colors left in this little section, this little green color here, and this little, it's a blue symbol, but it's actually like a white color, I think. Or like oh, it's a very pale, like grayish blue for that, for the shading on her dress. It's this color right here, whatever this color is. So yeah, it's going super fast. Like I literally just started this last night and I'm already got 1 row completed. I mean, obviously I did some this morning, but zoom out here so you can see. So when I was close up, you could see the gapping, but as you move back, you really can't see that much of it. So but that's why I'm kind of undecided whether I want to do the mica powder on it or not. I don't know. I'm kind of torn. So you can leave me a comment down below and let me know what you think about that as well. Should I mica powder it to try and disguise all of the gapping here in the background, or should I just leave it as is? Plus, I'd have to go find my mica powder because I'm not sure where I packed it at. Okay, that's it for me today, guys. Thanks so much for sticking around till the end of the video and putting up with lawnmowers and weed whackers and whatever other noise was in the background that I've missed. Before you leave, don't forget to do all the things. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification icon so that you can be informed of future uploads. And as always, guys, thanks so much for watching.